Alright, so here we are with our December Oscar predictions. We're going to be doing Best Picture, Director, Actor, and Actress today, and then we're going to have a part 2 with the supporting acting categories and the screenplay categories. So jumping right into Best Picture, at the top we still have Anora. Anora's probably going to be at the top for the entire race, honestly, unless it just doesn't win at Globes or Critics' Choice or anywhere, but I'm expecting it to still do really well. And this is just a really solid film. Again, Palme d'Or. It's gotten all of the nominations it's needed, plus Yor Borisov is now a top contender for getting a nomination as supporting actor, and we'll dive into that in part 2 of these predictions. But yeah, like, there's a lot going for Anora, and it hasn't been slowed down at all. It's just been really consistent and solid, and there is no reason to knock it off its pedestal. But at number 2, I do have Conclave now. Conclave did really well at the box office, performing just a lot better than these kind of movies do, and it's just getting all the nominations it needs. Ralph Fiennes is a top contender for Best Actor. Edward Berger has been getting nominated everywhere, including the Golden Globes. He did not get snubbed there. It's getting its screenplay nominations. You know, the one thing that's worrying me a little bit is that Stanley Tucci has not been getting the supporting actor nominations that I was personally expecting him to get. But that's okay. I don't think this movie needs Tucci. It needs Fiennes, it needs director, and it needs screenplay. And until we start to see evidence that it's not going to get one of those nominations, then I'm going to have it at number 2. And it's been like one of the just highest leading films in animations for a lot of these awards, tying Wicked or being second to Wicked. I think at Critics' Choice it had like 11 nominations or some big number like that, which is fantastic for this film. But I think it's going to be one of those high nomination, no win movies. That was what I was predicting this film to be really from the get-go before it even came out. I remember when I would like talk to my friends about it, I was like, yeah, this seems like the kind of film that's going to be very crowd-pleasing, have a great score, have great cinematography, great screenplay, all of that good stuff. Get a lot of nominations for it. But is it the best at any of those? Maybe screenplay. And I think that might be all this movie gets. Now at number 3, I do have The Brutalist. And the one thing that scared me quite a bit was the Felicity Jones snub for supporting actress at Critics' Choice. That freaked me out quite a bit. I have not seen this movie yet, but all these reviews that I've read or listened to about The Brutalist have said that Adrien Brody is incredible and by far the standout performance, but Felicity Jones comes so close and at times even surpasses him. So seeing that she got snubbed by the Critics' Choice just worried me a little bit. Now granted, this film has not had its full wide release yet, so maybe not everyone got the chance to see The Brutalist at the time that they were putting in their nominations, so maybe that's why Felicity Jones got snubbed. But still, I'm a little worried, and hopefully, you know, things come back for this movie. I'm seeing it on Friday. I cannot wait. Like, literally, I am just so ecstatic to go and see this. I'm going into Manhattan. I'm seeing it in 70mm. It's going to be amazing. We got Wicked at number 4. Now, Wicked is really strong, and there's a lot of love for it, and it's going to be getting a lot of below-the-line nominations. But the real question for this film is that aside from Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, how many above-the-line nominations will it get? Will John M. Chu actually get a director nomination? Could it get a screenplay nomination? Those are really big uncertainties for Wicked, and that worries me. If it's not going to be getting director screenplay nominations, then I just don't see it as a number 1. So unless it gets nominations in either or both of those categories, I'm not going to be having Wicked at the top. Also, again, it's a part 1. It is incomplete. I think that Wicked Part 2 could dominate next year. There's a very strong chance of that because it's the conclusion to this duology of films. But Wicked Part 1 ends sort of on this open type of ending. There's obviously more to the story that we are yet to see. And if Wicked Part 2 is just as good as Part 1, then I think it could be doing very well. But I think what we might be seeing with this film is that it gets a lot of nominations, and similar to Conclave, just no wins. Also, something of note with Wicked is that it has not been getting a lot of love internationally. It's been underperforming at the box office, really just overseas everywhere. And there are a lot more international members of the Academy now. So they might not be too in favor of this film, and that could definitely like hold back its chances. And then finally, in like our top 5, the 5 films that I feel just 100% good about getting a Best Picture nomination, I have Emilia Perez. Emilia Perez, it's just, again, getting a lot of nominations, similar to Conclave, similar to Wicked, like up there in the double digits for a lot of awards. And it's just a very enjoyable film, you know, for a lot of people. It's very crowd-pleasing. I'm just worried because the actual ratings are not that good for Emilia Perez. Also, Jacques Audiard and screenplay are just a little uncertain, not like 100% uncertain. Like, I feel better about Audiard and the screenplay getting nominations than I do about John M. Chu and Wicked screenplay getting nominations. But like, they still feel a little uncertain. They feel like the kind of things that could be getting snubbed, rather than like 100% like I feel really good about these nominations happening. And just because of that uncertainty, I do have to put it at number 5. There's just not as much love for this film as there is for the other 4. At 6, slightly down like a tier from the top 5, is Dune Part 2. Denis looks like he's on track to get snubbed for director again, except this time it's like all the fans of this film know that he's deserving, recognize that this is the best directed film since Oppenheimer, but will not be getting a direction nomination because, you know, there's just been less support for this movie since it came out in March, and there's all of these other like really well-directed films that have come out towards the end of the year and that have just sort of pushed Dune to the back burner, unfortunately. But I love this film. I just wanted to recognize that its direction is incredible, and I hate that we are going to a place where it looks like Denis will probably be getting snubbed. And if Denis is getting snubbed, I just don't see any chance, really, for this film to actually win picture, and I'm a little worried about its nomination chances. I know it got nominated for picture at the Globes and at Critics' Choice, but, you know, I'm scared. I was really tempted to put The Substance in the same tier as Dune 2, but I did resist that. I have it here as my number 7. It has been doing so well, and I love that it's been doing so well. Like, yeah, it hasn't gotten a lot of the below-the-line nominations that I was really hoping it could get. It didn't get shortlisted for some of the Oscar shortlists that I thought it could have. It didn't get some editing nominations at certain awards that I expected, or cinematography nominations that it would have deserved. But that's okay, because at the end of the day, it's getting director nominations, Denis is getting nominated, Margaret Qualley's getting nominated, and if all of those things are happening, oh, and then the screenplay. The screenplay is getting nominations. So there's just so much going for this film above the line, and at the end of the day, above the line is more important than below the line in terms of categories, where I feel like there's no way that this film doesn't get a Best Picture nomination. I think that there's still a chance because it's very strongly a genre film, but Coralie Farge seems like she's very likely to get a director nomination, Demi Moore very likely to get an actress nomination, and then Margaret Qualley got nominations at the Globes and Critics' Choice, to my surprise. I think that that's a pretty big deal. And I think that it looks really good for The Substance. And again, its screenplay is probably going to get an original screenplay nomination, so it feels great right now. Because those are 4 huge potential nominations that really like just put together a really strong and solid Best Picture contender. At 8, I have A Complete Unknown. Got huge nominations at the Globes, Critics' Choice, plus it was in the AFI Top 10. There's a lot of love for this film. It's coming out in a few days. It's probably going to be huge. I mean, I just actually listened to the Timothée Chalamet, Theo Von podcast, and it's just like, there is so much love for Chalamet, and he's such a cool guy. I mean, did you see him on College Football Game Day? You know, like, he's the guy this year. Between Wonka, Dune, and now this, he's the movie star of 2024, and he is capping off the year with this film. He's a huge contender for Best Actor. A lot of people have him as their number one, and you'll find out whether or not I do shortly. And even though it doesn't seem like much of a contender for director or screenplay, that just the love for Chalamet's performance could be enough, honestly. And just the love overall for this film. Musical biopics have done really well at the Oscars before, and it seems like that A Complete Unknown is just a continuation of that trend. To me, 9 and 10 are a toss-up with Nickel Boys and Sing Sing. With Nickel Boys, I do have it at number 9 because, you know, it got that Golden Globe nomination for picture without getting any other nomination at the Globes. That and September 5, but I feel better about Nickel Boys because it's a stronger contender in other categories. I think Ramel Ross has a pretty good shot at getting a director nomination. It could very well be getting a screenplay nomination. Aunjanue Ellis-Taylor could be getting a nomination for supporting actress. And there's just a lot of love for this film. It's a very unique type of filmmaking that I cannot wait to see for myself. And the people that have seen this film, a lot of them just absolutely love it. A lot of people think that this is like the best movie of the year. But then you have Sing Sing, where it's kind of the reverse, or not like the reverse, but instead of director, it has strong contenders for nominations in actor and supporting actor, plus strong contender for a screenplay nomination. So at the end of the day, just you kind of have to weigh the two next to each other and see where you get. And for me, I have them as my 9 and 10, which does unfortunately, very disappointingly to me, have a real pain on the outside looking in at number 11. Even though Kieran Culkin is the favorite for supporting actor, and I do think he's going to win supporting actor, and even though it has a very strong original screenplay contender, at least for the nomination, I'm doubting it a little bit. Its snub at Critics' Choice did freak me out a bit. I know that there's a lot of people that would take the substance out and throw Real Pain in and just go with the AFI top 10. But just, in my opinion, I don't see all 10 of those films getting picture nominations. That almost never happens, where all 10 AFI movies in their top 10 actually get nominated for Best Picture. There's usually one odd man out, and I do think A Real Pain could be that. It's just a very small film in scale. It is a comedy, which, comedies aren't always received too well by the Oscars. It's just a very indie feeling film, and that could unfortunately work against A Real Pain. I also just don't know if I see Fox Searchlight getting 2 films in the picture when both of the films that they are pushing are not super strong contenders to actually win it. It's not like A24 where you have a juggernaut in The Brutalist and then just a really crowd-pleasing, film like Sing Sing with a pretty solid groundswell of love and support and just a really good story behind it. Even look at Neon. Neon has not been able to push Seed of a Sacred Fig next to Anora. They've really just been pushing Anora, and Seed has just been pushed way to the back burner at this point, where I don't even think it's a contender to get a Best Picture nomination anymore. And A Complete Unknown just feels bigger. It feels like a lot more people are just going to enjoy it and remember it. And A Real Pain will unfortunately get pushed back. So I could be completely wrong here, but that is how I feel, though I do have A Real Pain in the same tier as all of those films. From the substance to A Real Pain, it's all the same tier. And just rounding out these Best Picture contenders, I have September 5, had that lone Golden Globe nomination, but aside from that, just hasn't been getting enough attention for me to take it all too seriously. All We Imagine Is Light, Paul Kapadia had that Golden Globe nomination, so wanted to include it here. And then challengers as well. It's, Zendaya's been getting attention, the screenplay's been getting attention, and there's clearly just a lot of love still for this movie, but I just don't think it'll be enough to actually get it in the picture. I really do feel like that top 11 are the true contenders, and then these final 3 are just real outsiders looking in. We've already talked about these directors a little bit in like the picture conversation, so I should be able to fly through this a little bit more because I know that that was very long-winded just now. Brady Corbet is still my number one for Best Director. Just no reason why he shouldn't be. He hasn't been getting snubbed anywhere. And that just does seem to be what everybody's talking about with The Brutalist, how incredible his direction is, the way that they were able to use such a small budget to make such an epic film. And now there's all this promotion about like the VistaVision and just, again, the 70mm film and how long the roll of film is for The Brutalist. And then there's a lot of conversation about the 30-minute intermission. So it's just... there's a lot going for this movie, you know, and Brady Corbet's direction just really stands out. And he is by far the favorite to me to win director. But coming in at number 2 is still Sean Baker, the only other director who I feel like is a true lock to get a nomination at this point. Just because Anora is the number 1. There's so much love for it. And you know, Sean Baker, it seems like it's finally his time to be getting like strongly recognized by the Oscars, and that includes a director nomination. But at number 3, we have Coralie Farge. Farge got nominations at both the Globes and Critics' Choice. The Substance is a very strong film, and really when people walk away from The Substance, it's two things. It is that Demi Moore was incredible and that this film is just absolutely insane and bonkers and crazy. And that comes from Farge's direction. And I think it's going to be getting recognized here. Then I have Ramel Ross. And I know it might seem kind of crazy that I have Ramel Ross at 4, meaning that I do have Edward Berger getting snubbed, and really what's probably more realistic is that Edward Berger and Jacques Audiard both get nominations, and then Ramel Ross is like at my number 6 or something like that. But I'm thinking about it in a way of, if Nickel Boys is going to be getting a Best Picture nomination, like I'm predicting it to, then Ramel Ross has to get a director nomination, so I need to have him at my number 4. Meaning that it's between Berger and Audiard for who gets that other Best Director nomination. I am going with Audiard just because Emilia Perez is a lot more flashy, it has all those musical sequences, and those are just more directorial, while Conclave just feels like a much more screenplay-based film, so I'm giving the nod to Audiard. I think it could be either, I think that there's a strong chance of both, but again, if Nickel Boys is going to be getting a Best Picture nomination, I think it needs Ramel Ross to get a Best Director nomination. I just don't really see Nickel Boys getting a picture nomination without Ross getting a director nomination. So in this world, in this prediction world that I have created, that means that Audiard or Berger has to go, and I'm picking Berger to go. Berger, though, very strongly at 6. Conclave is a very strong film. And below Berger, to me, this is absurd. To me, Audiard and Berger should both be on the outside looking in because this guy should be at number 5 at least. It's Denis Villeneuve. It looks like it's part 2 of him getting snubbed for Dune. I can't believe I'm saying this. Dune 2, again, in my opinion, is the best directed film since Oppenheimer, maybe even like for longer than that. Like, I'd really have to do a double feature of Dune 2 and Oppenheimer to like really look into it because I think it's very close in terms of just quality of direction. I just rewatched Dune and still think it's fantastic. I mean, it is just one of the best movies to come out in the 2020s, I think. I think it's the best movie of the year. And I can't believe that Denis is not getting a nomination. I think that that's absurd. But this is where we are. I don't want to talk about it any longer because it hurts too much to talk about. So we'll just move on to my bottom 2 slots, and that is John M. Chu and Pyle Kapadia. I just don't see it being too likely for either of them to get nominations, but I wanted to include them because Kapadia got that surprise Golden Globe nomination, and Wicked is just really strong, and there's a lot of love for Wicked, so maybe John M. Chu could come out of nowhere and claim a director nomination. All right, now we got lead actress. Mikey Madison's still my number 1. If Anora's my number 1, I feel like Mikey has to be my number 1 because Anora just completely centers around her and her performance as Anora. So, you know, if one's gonna win, then I feel like the other almost has to, you know. Then we got Angelina Jolie. Before I had Carla Sofia Gascon as number 2, I am going with Jolie now. I've seen Maria. Jolie gives a fantastic performance. It's probably going to be Maria's only nomination. But there is this narrative for Jolie. She's never gotten nominated for Best Actress before, only Supporting Actress, where she won in 2000. She's a very famous, very successful actress who has not won like Best Lead Actress before at the Oscars, let alone got nominated. So there is this little narrative, kind of similar to the Ralph Fiennes narrative, that to me is just enough to push her a little above Carla Sofia Gascon, but then I do have Carla right there at number 3, and all 3 of them, by the way, are in the same tier to me. I think that these are the 3 who truly have Best Actress on lockdown, though I do think like that this top 5 is so solid and is probably the top 5 that we will be getting at the Oscars. I don't feel like there's really a weak link here. Now, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but it looks like Carla will be or would be the first ever transgender woman to get nominated for Best Lead Actress at the Oscars, which that's just a very big deal historically. Not to mention that her performance is genuinely just really, really strong. And Emilia Perez is a strong film at the Oscars. So there's totally a narrative for her here as well. Just unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to be enough. But we'll see. I mean, there was a similar argument for Lily Gladstone last year. Granted, Killers of the Flower Moon was not as strong last year as Emilia Perez looks to be this year. So we'll see. Then we got Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. It's really a toss-up for who goes in this 4 slot to me between Erivo and Demi Moore, but really just because of how much love Wicked's been getting, I feel like I have to put Erivo here at 4, especially because it seems like a favorite to win Best Picture, and yet is not a favorite for director or screenplay. I feel like that means Erivo really needs this nomination and will probably be getting this nomination. At this point, her and Ariana Grande are so intertwined where it's hard to see one getting a nomination without the other getting a nomination, and Ariana Grande looks so strong in the supporting actress category, so at this point it's just like, alright, Erivo kind of has to get a nomination then too. So that is what I am predicting to happen. And then you got Demi Moore, who in my opinion gives the best performance of the year, and one of the best horror performances I have ever seen. And yeah, like she got her Critics' Choice nomination, she got her Golden Globe nomination, just again, feels very strong. So I have Demi here at number 5. And to me, this top 5 is the top 5 that I am the most confident about going all the way to the Oscars now. So let me just put that out there. But then you do have 3 other people that I think are worth mentioning. Marianne Jean-Baptiste is my number 6 for Hard Truths. She would be the only nomination for Hard Truths, but this is a Bleecker Street film. You know, it's just not getting that much attention, really. I think Baptiste has been getting nominations in some places, but it just doesn't feel big enough when I feel like you have 5 titans who just feel so locked in for Best Actress here, where it's such a David versus Goliath situation where I feel like Goliath kind of has it over David, who in this situation is Marianne Jean-Baptiste. And then rounding it out, you just have Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here, but I just don't think that either of them have been getting enough nominations at other awards to feel very strong here. So I do have them a tier below Marianne Jean-Baptiste, but I still think that they are worth mentioning. And also, all the comments I got on last month's predictions about where is Fernanda Torres, well, here is Fernanda Torres. I do think that she is above a lot of the people I had in Best Actress last time around. I think I should feel the way for lead actor that I feel for lead actress, where the top 5 are just all locks and no one else really stands much of a chance. I'm sure that a lot of other people at this point are feeling that way, but I'm just a little uneasy about the 5th spot. We'll quickly talk about the top 4. Adrien Brody for The Brutalist. So much love, everyone's saying that this is the best performance of his career, so there's all of that going for him. Ray Fiennes at number 2. You know, there's that narrative that he's never gotten an Oscar win before, and this is his chance to finally get that win. He's by far, like, probably the best actor in Hollywood right now who is yet to get an Oscar win. But then there's Timothée Chalamet at number 3 for Complete Unknown, where he spent 5 years prepping for his role as Bob Dylan. Like, he auditioned way back in the day and was like supposed to start filming in 2020, but then the pandemic happened and then filming kept getting pushed back until the start of this year. And now here we are with Complete Unknown coming out for Christmas, and like, he taught himself how to play the guitar, taught himself how to play the harmonica, got pretty good with nailing the Bob Dylan voice, and now is just on a huge campaign for this film, traveling all around the country. Like I said before, I saw him on Theo Von, and that was awesome. College Football Game Day, that was awesome. Like, he's really just getting all of this love from so many people and doing a great job, like, marketing himself and marketing this film, where there's a strong chance that he could be getting a Best Actor win, and I think that would make him the youngest actor to ever win. Maybe since Adrien Brody actually won for The Pianist, which is pretty interesting. Then at 4, you have Colman Domingo, and I don't think Domingo has much of a chance to win anymore. But just because this is a pretty weak category in terms of competition outside of this top 4, it feels like Domingo is a pretty big lock to get an actor nomination, luckily, because he is so deserving. But then you have number 5. Where, yes, like, Daniel Craig is a very famous actor and gives a phenomenal performance in Queer. But Queer is just so weird and so un-Oscar-y, where even though his performance is so great and there's not a lot of other competition out there, I just feel a little uneasy about being like, oh yeah, like, it's 100% gonna be Daniel Craig. I mean, I think the next most likely person to get the 5th spot is Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice, but will the Oscars really be nominating Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice when Donald Trump is gonna be in office at the time of these awards? I just don't think so. I just don't think that that is going to happen. You also have Jesse Eisenberg for A Real Pain, who could be getting a nomination, but he seems to really be marketing himself as the director and writer for this film, pushing off, like, the actor aspects of the work that he put into this film kind of towards the back burner, and that the focus in terms of acting for A Real Pain has been going to Kieran Culkin. And then there's also Sebastian Stan for A Different Man, but that is just an A24 film that, aside from a win at the Gothams, has not been getting much attention anywhere else. So maybe he could come out of nowhere and snag a nomination for A Different Man, but I just don't really see it. So that is where we are now in terms of Oscar predictions. All of these categories to me do have less contenders than they did back in November, so that is a step up for sure. What do you all think of these predictions? You know, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I would love to just have a discussion in the comments about these. Who do you think are going to be getting nominated for these acting and director awards? Which movies do you think will make Best Picture? You know, please let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think I got right, what I got wrong. I'd love to just talk about it. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.